So even though August is almost over, I'm finally getting around to ranking the July movies that I saw. Because just a couple days ago, I finally saw the last one I was going to watch, which is Escape Room 2. And my review of it is already up, so I'm good on that front. So, yeah, I know this is coming way late, but this is... And that's kind of sad, because there are only 8 films on this list. It's not like I had like 20 on here, because so many July movies, I just thought, no. But this is like the biggest haul of movies in a month I've probably had since I started this channel. I know I did one of these back in August of last year, but that was the only one. I should have done more. I should have done like one for December. I should have done one for March. I had 7 in that one. And so, and in case you're wondering, number 1 was Raya and the Last Dragon, number 7 was Justice League. So that's, that gets out of the way. So, let's rank the July movies, the July 2021 movies that I saw. All 8 of them. And if there are any movies on here that I didn't see that you think I should, leave it in the comments and I may watch it. I won't review them, but I'll probably end up watching them. So let's get into this. Coming in number 8, in last place, Space Jam: A New Legacy. Was there any doubt? This is one of the worst movies I've seen this year. This is one of the worst films I've seen in the last decade, I think. This was terrible. This thing is only rivaled by Justice League for being the worst film of the year. This was a pointless LeBron James vanity project. This was a pointless sequel to an already terrible movie. Space Jam is not a good movie. It is terrible. And LeBron James can't act for shit. The plot is a mess. The villain is dumb as hell. Everything is so contrived it can be fixed with a 30-second conversation, if even that. Just every character makes the wrong decision for the sake of the plot. None of the Looney Tunes are funny, and even the new characters that they brought, like Lola Bunny, who was an original character for Space Jam, just fuck all in this. I know she really didn't do much in the first movie either, but she had something resembling a personality. She doesn't hear. Nobody does. All the Looney Tunes have the most bottom-of-the-barrel jokes, and it is the most corporate whoring shit I've seen other than Ready Player One and the Emoji Movie. I think this was even worse than the Emoji Movie, because this was all Warner Brothers shit. It was all... They threw in... They shoved in so many references to Batman, to all these other... to a bunch of, like, stuff kids aren't even allowed to watch, like Game of Thrones, the Clockwork Orange, and it's like, no kid has seen these. At least I'd hope. I hope no kid is allowed to watch Game of Thrones. And that's for that reference. That's referenced like 5 times in this movie, and it's just a bunch of like Harry Potter. Iron Giant is hoard out yet again because God forbid they give us a sequel to that. No, we just got to keep shoving it into other crappy movies. First Ready Player One, and now this. So this was Ready Player Suck. I think I made that joke in my review, but it needs to be repeated. In 7th place, Escape Room Tournament of Champions, the one I put off for the longest. And for good reason. This was really bad. This is a sequel to another sequel to another already terrible movie. Escape Room was a terrible movie, but it at least had something to it. The escape rooms were kind of clever, the sets were nice, and the characters were kind of bland, but they had something resembling a personality. So, but this one is just a bunch of cookie-cutter characters, and the 2 from the first movie are even more bland in this. The acting is awkward. The sets are just generic. It's like a beach. It's a street. It's a subway train. It's a bank. It's not clever, and none of these puzzles are particularly difficult. Any idiot can figure this shit out. And it sets up, and it has one of the most shameless sequel baiting endings I have seen since the last Divergent movie. And much like Divergent 3, I don't think it's going to get another film. And thank God for that. In 6th place is Boss Baby Family Business. This was probably one of the more surprising films of this year, since I didn't 100% hate this film. I thought this was going to be even worse than Escape Room 2, I'm not going to lie. But it did have some things that worked in its favor. I thought the voice acting was all good. I thought it had some really nice moments to it, especially the musical number with Tim and his daughter. I thought that was a very well done scene. I figured out it was James Marsden who was Tim in this, which makes sense. He is a very good singer. So, yeah, he was really great. He was a lot better than Tobey Maguire was as an adult Tim. One, he's a better voice actor. He's a better actor in general. He needs to get some better films. And two, he sounds like the young Tim. Maguire didn't sound anything like the original Tim, but he actually... I bought this as an older Tim from the first movie. The plot is still dumb as hell, but at least the villain plot makes some semblance of sense, at least in this world. The first one didn't, but this one, at least it made something resembling sense. That's the best way that's the best compliment I can give this. It resembles something that makes sense. It doesn't make sense in the slightest, and it's really dumb. That's why I couldn't give it a fresh score, but it was surprisingly close. It was like a 2.6, which is only 0.4 off from a fresh score, so still a bad movie, but I was surprised by it. It was better than I was expecting. In number 5 is Jungle Cruise. This one is really disappointing for me because the first half of this movie I was really enjoying. It was well written, it had some really nice comedy, the stunt work was pretty cool, the fight scenes were alright, and the plot was at least coherent. But then the second half happened, and all those compliments get thrown out the window. It's not as funny anymore, the plot delves into so bad it's stupid territory. There aren't as many cool stunts in the end. It turns into a lot of really bad CGI. The CGI in this is terrible. And the entire premise of this is god-awful. Like, even from the start, the plot with the tree, with the magic tree, didn't make any sense. Pirates of the Caribbean at least you bought what was going on in that world. This one you don't. You don't really buy what's happening, and the characters just kind of start to devolve a bit by the ending of the film. And all the twists in this film, especially the one involving The Rock, was terrible. They were just stupid twists, and so yeah, the first half is really good, but then it just kind of falls apart in the second half. So I literally liked half this movie. There we go. Coming in at number 4 is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. I liked this way more than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be an okay action movie I was expecting it just to be a big dumb action movie. The action was kind of dumb because you couldn't see anything, but overall it was actually a pretty good movie. I really liked all the actors who were in this. I liked Henry Golding as Snake Eyes. I like Andrew Koji as Storm Shadow. I did like the other G.I. Joe characters, the two that showed up. They were in the movie for like 5 minutes apiece. I think Scarlett had all of like 10 lines and was entirely pointless, but I did like the film. The action, when you could see it, was pretty good. You could tell they put some good choreography into this, but the shaky cam always ruins it. And it has some really nice scenes, like especially the one involving the first trial, where he's trying to get the bull from the other guy while avoiding spilling his, and the way he does it is very nice. It shows subtlety in the film. Like I said in my review, it shows subtlety that G.I. Joe is not really known for, which is actually a really nice change of pace. Unfortunately, like I said, its shortcomings come in the action, where the camera work is a mess, you can't see what's going on, and the shot composition doesn't always work. It has the same problem as Batman Begins, where it has a lot of close-ups, a lot of shaky cam, and you can tell they really focused on that one wide shot during the car chase in the trailer, because that's really the only shot you can see what's happening in the entire scene. So, a fun action movie that could have been done a little better in the action department and a bit in the writing department. Bringing us into our top 3 is The Tomorrow War. Wow, this was a lot better than I was expecting. This is an Amazon original film, and streaming movies, if you've been watching my channel since I started this, which you probably haven't, but if you've seen any of my older reviews, you know that streaming movies generally don't agree with me. No matter what platform they're on. Netflix films usually suck. Disney Plus original films usually suck. And Hulu original films usually suck. And Amazon Prime is no exception. But, because that Cinderella movie, that's gonna suck. When that comes out in September, oh god, I'm dreading that. But this was actually a very well-made action sci-fi thriller. Or, I guess it wasn't really a thriller, but it was a really fun action sci-fi film. It had a really unique way of time traveling, where it's just you jump from one time to another. There's no in between, and while the aliens are kind of lame designs, at least in terms of the male ones, the female designs look really cool. The male ones are just kind of these bland white creatures that roam around. But again, the action is really cool. Chris Pratt is a very compelling lead. Chris Pratt's probably my favorite actor out there. So he puts a lot of love into his role, and you can tell and J.K. Simmons does very well as his father. You can tell they put as much effort into this movie as possible with the lower budget they were given, since this is a streaming movie and those generally don't have big budgets. Our runner-up is Troll Hunters: Rise of the Titans. Man, I really wanted this to be number one. I really did. But that godforsaken ending. I've bitched about this in virtually every video since this movie came out, but it deserves to be repeated. This film was damn near perfect up until this point. The action sequences were amazing. The animation was stepped up even from the show. The show's animation looks fantastic, but you can tell they stepped it up here because they had a higher budget. The voice acting is all great, even if Jim's new voice actor is a bit off every now and then, especially during the emotional scenes, but that wouldn't have bothered me. The plot of this, you could tell they were setting this up as the finale. Whether that's true or not, because I've heard plenty of rumors about a season 4 happening, and I really hope it does, but I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So the plot, and you can tell they raised the stakes here. They were not afraid to get dark with this film. Especially after watching the show, I was surprised at some of these characters that die in this film, especially at the end. Even when I was watching the film, I'm like, okay, this is Troll Hunters. I don't think there's going to be anybody that dies. Is this going to be one of those scenarios where, like, everybody lives and maybe somebody will die at the end? No. Maybe half a dozen main characters get killed off in pretty violent ways, too. Some of them, like, ones that are turned to stone and that stone is destroyed. One of them blows up trying to stop one of the Titans. One of them is crushed by rubble, and normally I hate that kind of death, but this one was actually done very well, especially when the character was Toby. Basically the main sidekick of the film. We didn't think he was gonna die, but man, that was really surprising. And they done fucked it up. I cannot get over how bad this ending is. I've been trying for over a month now to forgive it, and I can't bring myself to do so. Thankfully, while I'm watching the show, because I'm only a few episodes into season 2, I don't think about the fact that, oh, this is all pointless now, because it's actually really good. I don't think about it. The same thing happened with the DC AMU movies. I'm like, okay, this is all going to be pointless because the time is reversed in the last film anyway, so it doesn't matter. I didn't think about it because it was so good. But that's no excuse for this ending being utter shit. They threw all of the shows and this entire hour and 40-minute movie into the trash in 5 minutes. I have never seen an ending lose me so hard. And honestly, this was worse than Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. You know why? Because Apocalypse War, you didn't see time being restarted. You see Flash running off to restart the timeline, but you don't see anything after that. So it was less insulting. I felt empty after it, but I didn't feel enraged. This one, I was enraged because I could see what was happening. Had they just ended before he slices open the chronosphere, had they ended it there before he did that, it would have been fine. You know what? Had they revived Toby, I would have found that to be very contrived, but it would have been better than this. God. So, okay, I've bitched about this ending enough and how it shits on the entirety of the Tales of Arcadia. If season 4 fixes it, I might. If season 4 is real, if that is actually coming out, I may forgive it, because it may be opening the door for new stories, but right now, I can't. And coming in at number 1, you probably all guessed it the second you clicked on this video, Black Widow. Yeah, sorry. This is the same problem as Troll Hunters, where I wanted to give it a 5 out of 5. I wanted this should have been number 1 of the year. Right now, it was until Free Guy came out just 2 weeks ago. So it was number 1, but number 1 of the entire year, and it's already been beaten by Free Guy. And it was almost beaten by Troll Hunters, but bitch about it enough. The one thing that dragged this movie down was Taskmaster. Taskmaster was really badass in this movie. I like that he was silent in this. He was like, well, Snake Eyes, much more than Snake Eyes was in his film. He was silent but deadly. He knew how Black Widow thought. He knows how she fights. But then it was revealed who it was. And it was incredibly stupid. That is the one thing that kept this movie from getting a 5 out of 5. Also, the fact that I don't really like Scarlett Johansson as a person, but that has nothing to do with the film. That's not their fault. And Disney cut ties with her, thank God, so she's out of this. And I'm perfectly okay with Florence Pugh taking it on, because she is actually the best part of this film. The performances in this are really well done, especially Florence's as her sister. She does very well in this role. Rachel Weisz and David Harbour do very well in their roles too. You can tell they put everything they could into this to make this a good film. Since most people were saying, "Oh, it came out 10 years too late." Who cares as long as it's good? I do think they should have come out back in like 2010, either before or after she was introduced into Iron Man 2. But the way they did it was actually really clever. They combined it as an origin story and showing what happened between Civil War and Infinity War. And it was a really cool action movie. It had a lot of great fight scenes. The action at times was a little hard to see. You can tell this director was not suited for this type of action movie, or really action movies in general, kind of like the guy who made Snake Eyes, but it really doesn't bother me when it has some really cool... They really use all of Black Widow's traits to their advantage. Her agility, her strength, her flexibility, and her gadgets. All of her... They threw everything they could into this film. And people have been saying the Marvel formula, which is still bullshit. Not only is it a BS excuse to hate the films, but it's not true in general. But it's still a really well done film. And it doesn't follow... It doesn't do any generic action movie tropes, much like most of the Marvel movies don't. It stays out of being generic and actually tries to be something genuine, and it really is. Is it the best MCU film? Not by a long shot, but the MCU has probably the greatest comic book films of all time in it, with Endgame, Infinity War, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, Iron Man. You would have to be perfect to be the best MCU film. But this one falls pretty much in the middle, but that's still pretty impressive. So that's all we got for July, and August is already over, halfway done. I've already reviewed Free Guy, The Suicide Squad, and Vivo, and I've got reviews of Sweet Girl and the Paw Patrol movie. Maybe He's All That. I don't know. That one's getting some really bad reviews, and honestly, I saw some clips on YouTube, and But the future of the rest of this year is showing promise. The new Spider-Man movie is actually showing promise, and this is a guy who hates the MCU Spider-Man. Shang-Chi, Eternals, if they push back Eternals, like they're saying they might out, I will be severely pissed. Venom 2 coming out in October. Tick Tick Boom coming in November. The rest is sure shaping up to be pretty damn good. So, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe for reviews and more rankings like this. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go watch Paw Patrol, the movie. Why am I doing this?